100 years ago, on Tuesday the 17th of August 1909, a unique design of locomotive emerged from the Bear Peacock Works in Manchester. It was the brainchild of Herbert William Garratt, and was designed to provide extra power on the lightly laid and often indifferent tracks of developing countries. The routes frequently abounded with sharp bends and reverse curves that were designed to ease the gradient. Garratt put an articulated power unit at each end of the boiler, and this enabled the weight of the water tank and the coal bunker to be concentrated over the driving wheels to maximise adhesion. As a result, the engines developed the power of two conventional locomotives. From its foundation by Charles Bayer and Richard Peacock in 1854, the company had built up a reputation for quality and for building engines for particular purposes. Their works were well laid out and expanded to cope with the growing order book. By the company's jubilee in 1904, the works covered an area of 12 acres, and nearly 4,500 engines of all types had been built, including many for export. The first engines to the Garratt design were made for the Tasmanian Government Railways, to be used on the 2-foot gauge North East Dundas tramway. This ran from the mineral mines on Mount Read and followed a tortuous route through rugged mountain passes, crossing numerous river valleys on timber trestle viaducts before reaching the mainline railhead at Zeehan, some 18 miles away. Incredibly, the first engine not only survives, but is in use on the Welsh Highland Railway in Snowdonia. To celebrate its centenary, the 100-year-old veteran was transported to a special exhibition at the Manchester Museum of Science and Industry. The museum is home to a 3-foot 6-gauge Garratt from South Africa, where some of the most powerful locomotives ever made by Bear Peacock were to be found. Built in 1930, this engine was used on the main routes from Natal until the lines were electrified. For the next 30 years, it found duties hauling heavy coal trains. In Britain, the first standard gauge Garratt engine for industrial use was built in 1924 for Vivian and Sons of Cardiff. In service, it hauled 30% more than two saddle tank engines of equivalent combined tractive effort. Many similar locomotives were built for private owners and for the nationalised railways. This one survives from the Baddesley Colliery in Staffordshire. Weighing over 60 tons, it was the largest locomotive built for industrial use in this country. It worked until the 1960s and is now the only surviving example of a standard gauge Garratt. The museum exhibition also included conventional engines built by Bear Peacock, and these were in steam, providing demonstrations of their original use on freight duties. In addition, over 130 models complemented the display and highlighted the range of Garratt locomotives built for use throughout the world. South Africa became home to many of the 1100 Garratt engines built by Bayer Peacock. They were used on the 3-foot-6 gauge main lines and on the 2-foot gauge branch lines with their steep gradients and twisting curves. Four of the 2-foot gauge engines have been returned to this country for use on the newly reopened Welsh Highland Railway in Snowdonia. 2 have already been refurbished and provide unusual motive power on this scenic line. The engines were part of the very last batch of Garratts to be built by Bayer Peacock before the company closed in 1966. Alongside the first one, built in 1909, they provide a fitting memorial to over 150 years of locomotive building in Manchester.